Thousands in South Carolina protest what they call a symbol of racism. In depth, in the line of fire, America's largest manufacturer of handguns may be looking for a truce and a way out of all those gun lawsuits. Lifeline, the hidden ingredient in so many foods. Why you should know what they don't tell you about fat. And a mystery at sea. Why are so many dolphins running ashore in Florida?
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. On this holiday celebrating the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it is now truly a national observance with events in all 50 states honoring the slain civil rights leader, some states more reluctantly than others. In Dr. King's hometown of Atlanta, at his gravesite, an eternal flame continues to burn. At other places, it was a day of protest. In South Carolina, the Confederate flag has become a divisive symbol, reaching all the way to the presidential campaign. It flies from atop the state capitol there, and today tens of thousands of marchers demanded it be removed. NBC's Frederica Whitfield in South Carolina.
Today, an estimated 50,000 people marched through the streets of Columbia, South Carolina to protest a 38-year tradition they call offensive and hateful.
The flag has been a divisive issue and not one to unify us.
Since 1962, the Confederate flag stands tall above South Carolina's Capitol building, weathering decades of lawsuits and legislative battles to take it down. Today's demonstration on Martin Luther King Day, a federal holiday in all 50 states, unfolded in the only state in the Union that does not recognize it as a state holiday.
I think that flag is an insult to a lot of people in this state. But all of the struggles and battles we've won, there's been pressure that has brought about change.
Demonstrators hope if this massive rally doesn't get the attention of lawmakers, then the NAACP's economic boycott will. According to state officials, the 3-week-old tourism boycott has already led to the cancellations of at least 90 meetings and conventions.
Marcher Harold Chambers traveled here from Atlanta and won't spend a dime in South Carolina.
I think the economic boycott is very important because you're talking about hitting them in the pockets where it hurts.
It's a heated issue here and in the race for U.S. president. Vice President Al Gore calls the flying of the battle flag a disgrace. Republican candidates John McCain and George W. Bush both say it's a state matter that shouldn't involve the federal government. South Carolina-based rally organizers say it's a fight that crosses state lines.
We've got folks from all over the country here as well. South Carolina folks are speaking up today and saying that it's time to take the flag down.
Later this month, state legislators are expected to consider new measures requesting the red flag be taken down. Demonstrators here say they hope this time their battle will be won. Frederica Whitfield, NBC News, Columbia, South Carolina.
On the campaign trail, the two Democratic presidential candidates were much more conspicuous in their tributes to Dr. King than their Republican rivals. The African-American vote, despite some inroads by Republicans, still is overwhelmingly in the Democratic column. Tonight, NBC's Claire Shipman on race, Gore, and Bradley.
Because they nourish our...
Al Gore speaks today at the church Martin Luther King called his own, Ebenezer Baptist.
Today, 32 years after we lost him, America still needs the soaring dream of Martin Luther King Jr.
As Bill Bradley calls for a dialogue on race today in Iowa.
The vast majority of Americans want to get to a deeper level of racial harmony in this country.
Both candidates seizing the symbolism of the day, looking beyond Iowa and New Hampshire, appealing to black voters. Why? African Americans represent 25% of the March primary vote in the South. Both men know they can't get the nomination without them. At a forum on race in Iowa tonight, Bradley asked Gore why he hasn't pushed President Clinton to end racial profiling.
Walk down that hallway, walk into his office, and say, sign this executive order.
I don't think President Bill Clinton needs a lecture from Bill Bradley about how to stand up and fight for African Americans.
But is there any real difference between the two candidates when it comes to the issue of race, when it comes to appealing to black voters?
Both candidates resonate positively in the black community. It is just a question of degree.
And a question of loyalty. Right now, most polls show Gore with at least a 2-to-1 lead in the black community, one place where his partnership with Bill Clinton is a huge asset.
The black community never turned its back on Bill Clinton, and for that reason, they will reward Al Gore for doing the same.
But Bradley's trying to change that, traveling to Harlem to meet with controversial black leader Al Sharpton, stressing his days in the multiracial NBA, enlisting the help of black academic Cornel West.
And I think when more and more black people recognize that Bradley's profound commitment to racial justice, we're going to see some shifts in the polls.
Both candidates emphasize what pollsters say are the two top issues among black voters, education and health care. But that may not be enough for Bradley to change minds, says George Tyler, who went to hear the senator last night.
I figure, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's a sentiment Al Gore is banking on, and one Bill Bradley has to turn around with less than 2 months until the primaries down south. Claire Shipman, NBC News, Des Moines.
In this booming United States economy, African Americans are doing much better, but they're still well behind the national averages. Black unemployment now is at 8%. That's the lowest ever, but it's still twice as large as the national average. 27% of the African American population lives in poverty. Again, the lowest level ever, but still about twice the national average. Now to the Elian Gonzalez controversy. As lawyers, the 6-year-old Cuban boy's Miami family gets set to make another effort to keep him here. This week in federal court, tonight, Cuban officials are dealing with a higher authority. Here's NBC's Pete Williams.
In Rome today, Cuba's foreign minister takes the case to the Vatican during a private audience with the Pope, the start of a 6-nation tour to build support for getting the boy back from the Miami relatives.
They've kidnapped him, and I hope that my visit here in Europe will impress upon the governments and public opinion to help get the boy returned as soon as possible.
In Miami today, as those relatives pledge to fight his return, their lawyers say they'll go to federal court later this week, hoping to press a claim for asylum to challenge the government for turning down their previous asylum requests without once talking to the boy himself.
We have obviously spoken to Elian directly. We've had him evaluated by a number of psychologists to understand why he doesn't want to return to Cuba.
And some members of Congress are pressing for support for a special bill that would bypass federal court and simply grant the boy citizenship.
It's a way to get it into a child custody court in the United States and let the decision be made as it is in all other child custody cases in the United States by a court, what's in the best interest of this child.
The special bill could come up as early as 2 weeks from now and appears to have support from both parties. But a former Immigration Service lawyer says it wouldn't be fair to grant it for the Cuban boy while the government continues to send back children from other countries.
If we want to have a policy that says we're simply going to evaluate children, are they better off here or are they better off there, that would be fine. But let's apply it in an even-handed way to all nationalities.
And while the boy's father refuses to come here, saying he fears getting caught up in the court battles, the boy's grandmothers say they might come if that would help get him back sooner. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
Up next, moving target. NBC News in depth tonight. With gun manufacturers under fire, the largest maker of handguns may be looking to call a truce.
I believe we have a common problem in the country, and the problem is crime, violence, and accidental shooting.
Why the nation's biggest handgun maker may be ready to talk some kind of settlement. That's tonight's In Depth. And to the rescue, the frantic effort to coax back beach dolphins in the Key West back to safety.
The world sees him as the courageous cancer survivor who won the Tour de France. But to me, Lance is a husband and the father of our son. I'm Kristen Armstrong, and the threat of losing Lance to cancer was very real to me.
That's why we support Spoonfuls of Hope. For each special card you send in from Whole Grain Total, Cheerios, and Wheaties, General Mills will donate 50 cents to the American Cancer Society, up to $1 million.
Help fight cancer for the ones you love.
Itchy allergic rash? The dermatologist I work for recommends Cordate. It stops the itch and helps heal the rash to restore your skin. There's no brand doctors recommend more. In fact, doctors recommend Cordate more than 4 to 1 over Cortisone 10. Cordate, restore your skin.
We never thought we'd use OnStar for snakes.
I just hate snakes.
Yeah, traveling through Arizona, we blew a front tire. It shot off the road, and I looked down at the ground. It is crawling with rattlesnakes.
It was unbelievable.
I pushed the OnStar button. Within seconds, the OnStar advisor pinpointed our location and sent a tow truck.
Call the paramedics.
Yeah, and kept talking because we
hate snakes.
Yeah.
The one-touch connection to people who can help.
OnStar.
Call 1-800-OnStar-7.
I was miserable. My antacid didn't do the whole job. Then I tried Alka-Seltzer.
Only Alka-Seltzer relieves heartburn and pain and has the effervescent power to speed relief.
It made a believer out of me.
Get better relief. Get Alka-Seltzer.
Good morning, Mr. Schwab.
Good morning.
Introducing Velocity from Schwab, the new incredibly powerful online trading software system. With the power to place multiple orders at one time, it's fast and smart. And, if you'll pardon the expression, cool.
Tuesday, the Blazers are in Texas to face Hakeem, Rudy T, and Houston. The Blazers, the Rockets. Tuesday night at 5, only on Northwest News Channel 8, your Blazer station. Matt Zaffino, only on Northwest News Channel 8.
NBC News in depth tonight. Gun battle. Gun makers locked in a bitter legal combat with anti-gun forces in cities and towns all across the country. Currently, lawsuits have been filed against gun makers by 28 cities and counties in 13 states. Well, now as those gun makers gather this week in Las Vegas for their biggest trade show, a lone voice in their industry may be ready to sit down and talk. In collaboration with the Wall Street Journal, NBC's Kelly O'Donnell begins tonight's in-depth reporting.
Today in Las Vegas, a gun industry supermarket. The biggest trade show in the business, open only to dealers, not the general public. Controversy forced this year's show to move here, instead of the planned host city, New Orleans, after officials there filed suit against the gun industry. The claim in similar lawsuits across America, gun makers should be held responsible for much of the expense and damage caused by gun violence. In today's Wall Street Journal, the head of the nation's largest gun manufacturer is reported to be ready to settle the barrage of suits. In his first television interview on the subject, with his lawyer present, the president of Smith & Wesson declares there's room to negotiate, but says the industry is not to blame.
We are open to discussing with those opponents, our company, to try to understand what it is they believe we either could or should do differently.
Are you extending an olive branch to them?
No. Our real opponents' efforts are to put us out of business. They are using a group of people, the cities and the municipalities, as their way to get at us. The only olive branch they would accept would be closing our factories and never making another gun.
Schultz claims his real opponents are handgun control advocates. But those backing the lawsuits believe, much like big tobacco, the gun industry should be held accountable for the consequences of what it sells. Each year, guns kill 33,000 people. The cost of treating firearms injuries, more than $4 billion a year, according to the American College of Physicians. Can gun makers and the city suing them find any common ground? Later this week, both sides will meet here to talk. A step that outrages the National Rifle Association, which believes the gun industry should hold firm.
I think any time that you admit publicly that the lawsuits are without merit and at the same time suggest that there ought to be some sort of settlement, you've gone too far.
A gun battle where the lines may no longer be so clearly drawn, as the head of the country's biggest gun maker opens the door to negotiation, taking aim not at his opponents, but at a possible solution. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Las Vegas.
Away from the courtroom or the negotiation table, there is an arms race going on in the streets of America. In places large and small, police officers are finding themselves outgunned these days by the firepower in the hands of criminals. Well, now, police are fighting back. Continuing in depth, Here's NBC's Fred Francis.
A small-town police officer with one of the world's most powerful light machine guns, Officer Lamont Tucker. He's one of 23 cops in rural Rainbow City, Alabama, population 10,000. 800 rounds a minute in this backwater community. Why so much firepower?
The people on the street now are getting weapons that are more sophisticated than what we had, more firepower.
Ask Officer Gary Enterkin. 28 months ago, a career criminal blows his leg off, kills a fellow officer, and wounds 3 others during what Enterkin thought was a routine drug arrest.
He was better equipped with weapons. We were outgunned, basically.
The convicted killer, Ezra Peterson, had this full arsenal of assault rifles and high-powered handguns. The AK-47, like this one, was not only fully automatic, but it had a huge magazine, much bigger than this one. And over 4 or 5 minutes, the killer methodically fired off over 200 rounds.
As I approached the front of the house, I was shot instantly a number of times.
February 1997, Los Angeles. A similar horror story there. 2 bank robbers, armed with fully automatic AK-47s, pinned down dozens of pistol-packing LA cops for more than an hour. Since then, LA has acquired 600 Army surplus M16 assault rifles like this one, which can pierce the armored vest now favored by criminals. Back in tiny Rainbow City, they have M16s too. Police departments nationwide are also buying them along with more powerful handguns. There you go. The 9mm automatic, once the darling of most departments, is now giving way to this mighty 40 caliber handgun. Rainbow City wishes it had spent the $25,000 to rearm before the nightmare no one here will ever forget. Officer Enterkin.
Weapons like that would have really helped.
You might have your leg today.
I might have my leg.
Fred Francis, NBC News, Rainbow City, Alabama.
And this note on guns tonight, President Clinton is set tomorrow to announce a new program to combat gun violence. His program includes a proposal to improve federal law officers' ability to track firearms through ballistics tests. Up next, Lifeline, a controversial ingredient that's in many of the foods that you eat. New information on how deadly this little-known fat can be.
If you've got an ordinary cat, you can feed him ordinary cat food. But if you've got a real tiger, you don't mess around. You feed him the real meat in Friskies. It's what cats naturally hunger for. The nutrition they need to be their best. There's no better way to feed your cat. That's no little kitty. Friskies, what frisky cats hunger for.
My feet are killing me.
You need Podiasyn Soak and Massage Gel. Only Podiasyn dissolves in water for fast pain relief, then rubs into open pores for deep, lasting relief.
The pain is gone.
Podiasyn Soak and Massage Gel.
50 is beautiful. And to stay that way, Pro Vital Perfecting Moisturizer. It evens out skin tone with a hint of sheer color, so you're radiant, glowing. Pro Vital from Olay, proven to be why women over 50 look so wonderful.
This Social Security measure.
In 1935, FDR helped millions of Americans retire with less worry. Today, we're picking up where he left off. Introducing the Retirement Income Manager from T. Rowe Price, a unique advisory service that helps you determine how much of your retirement savings you can comfortably spend each month for the rest of your life. The Retirement Income Manager. We believe FDR would have approved. Call 1-800-341-0040 for more information.
We ate Quaker oatmeal for 30 days, and it helped lower our cholesterol 17 points. You can do it too. Just call this number, and they'll send you the information you need to get started.
It's good to know some things still work. Quaker oatmeal warms your heart and soul.
There's nothing like the way I feel after a good night's sleep. That's why I love my Tylenol PM. For me, there's just no reason to have trouble sleeping. I take Tylenol PM before bed. It stops my pain and helps me sleep. So I'm ready for another great day.
Our eyes have their own moisturizers, natural tears. So we took essential ingredients found in natural tears, added more moisturizers than any leading eye drop, and put them in Visine Tears. Visine Tears replenishes our eyes' natural moisture, bringing soothing relief to dry, scratchy eyes. Safe to use as often as you need. Visine Tears. It gets the dry out. also available preservative-free.
Tomorrow, our special series on eating smart continues with a look at onions and garlic. Sure, they're good for a good cry, but are they good for you? The answer tomorrow on Today.
It's like Today, only later. Later today, weekdays on NBC.
In international news tonight, there's a setback in peace talks between Israel and Syria. The high-level discussions were supposed to have resumed this week, but now they have been called off indefinitely. According to a senior administration official, both sides are simply too far apart right now for the talks to be productive. The fate of the Golan Heights separating the two countries is believed to be the main sticking point. Now, a lifeline and a little-known danger in many of the items on your grocery shelves. It's a kind of fat that masquerades under a complicated name on food labels, but no matter what it's called, some experts say, in fact, it can be deadly. Here's NBC's chief science correspondent, Robert Bazell.
Dr. Walter Willett, no ordinary shopper, but a leading nutrition expert at the Harvard School of Public Health. While people try to cut saturated fat in their diet, he says there is an even bigger problem that few understand, something called trans fat.
Trans fatty acids are really a very pervasive part of the U.S. food supply. They're in an incredible array of manufactured products, oftentimes in things that we would not even expect.
To find trans fats, you'd have to know they're also called partially hydrogenated vegetable oils, found in hundreds of foods, from cookies to peanut butter, nachos, cereals, even frozen foods. The amounts not listed on the label. They're put into processed foods to help preserve them and make them tastier. Not long ago, many experts thought trans fats were actually good for you, but not now.
Using very conservative assumptions, we've calculated that trans fats account for about 30,000 premature deaths from heart disease every year in the United States.
Why? Studies by Willett and others find that trans fats drive up the body's LDL, the bad cholesterol, even faster than saturated fats from animals. The food industry disagrees about some of the evidence.
There's still research that needs to be done on this issue, and we don't know that it contributes wholly to coronary artery disease or coronary heart disease.
Whatever the evidence shows, the FDA wants consumers to know more about trans fats. It proposes a change on food nutrition labels to include the percentage of trans fats, and it will require manufacturers to include trans fat content when they make claims that a product is lean or has reduced fat. The proposed regulations will not affect restaurants, which use a lot of trans fats, especially for frying. A few chains, like Legal Seafood, based in Boston, have stopped using trans fats and are letting their customers know. But that is the exception. If shoppers look hard now, they can find products without trans fats. And there will be even more, nutrition experts say, once Americans understand what is in their food. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
I'll be right back.
We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
It's time for your heartburn to kick in because your heartburn relief gave out. It happens 2 or more days a week, even though you've treated it and changed your diet. That frequent, persistent heartburn may be due to acid reflux disease, potentially serious.
It's Prilosec time. Time to see your doctor about prescription Prilosec. Your results may vary, but for many people, Prilosec provides 24 hours of complete heartburn relief with 1 daily dose. Ask your doctor for more information about Prilosec and if it's right for you. The most common side effects are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. 24 hours of complete heartburn relief is possible. It's Prilosec time.
Why is Lysol spray the best way to help protect your family? Because of what it does, kills the cold bug in seconds, and what it doesn't do, leave the sticky film Clorox spray does. That's why nothing beats Lysol.
Look! Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Ellie's renting again. And Enterprise picked her up again. She said Enterprise picks her up free. Free? Free. Now that makes renting easy.
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Vegetables know what they like. Introducing Taste of Life dressings, new from Kraft. They're enriched with vitamin E and made with stuff your salad will love. New Taste of Life dressings from Kraft.
What should you do if you're having a heart attack? First, call an ambulance, then take Bayer aspirin. Now, Bayer may help stop you from dying when taken during a heart attack. Talk to your doctor now. Bayer, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
My first bus was a little 29-passenger bus. Of all the buses I ever owned, it's the one bus I wish I could have hung on to.
Woody has had a plan from the very beginning about his business, and he's been disciplined to stick to the plan.
Tony and I started having lunch in about 1979.
We started out, there was a little carousing going on down
That's
there.
right. Tony represents Merrill Lynch to me.
We understand that investing is really best when it's putting your heads together and realizing that you're partners.
That's where my first bus company was, right here on the left. It's rather humble, wasn't it?
He played Opie and Richie, but just how did Ron Howard handle all the fame? I definitely was typecast. How a small-town boy grew up in the spotlight. Headliners and legends tonight on MSNBC.
Feel a scorpion sting? Then they'll stop at nothing to survive. Body snatchers and trek into the unspoiled African jungle. Explore this weekend on CNBC.
There's a dramatic rescue effort underway tonight in the waters off South Florida involving one of nature's most beloved creatures, the bottlenose dolphin. These intelligent, playful mammals live up to 40 miles from the shore. So when officials realized that about 100 of them were heading for land, they knew something was very wrong. More now from NBC's Kerry Sanders.
A frantic effort tonight to coax more than 100 dolphins back into the ocean after mysteriously beaching themselves in the Florida Keys.
They're kind of stuck in here. They don't seem to want to leave. We don't know what it is.
Scientists say it appears some dolphins won't leave, as if caring for those ill.
There's a whistle.
Randy Wells.
Squawk.
Studying dolphins so long, he's sometimes compared to Jane Goodall, who spent a lifetime investigating chimpanzees.
Researchers here have been able to follow the same dolphins for 30 years, giving them unique insight into how generations of dolphins interact.
While no one knows why dolphins beach themselves, Wells says it may be our fault. He's found beach dolphins usually have failing immune systems, traces of man-made chemicals like DDT in their blood.
What we're finding is that people have a lot more impact on these dolphins than initially was thought. There's 25. That's 128.
Snapping tens of thousands of pictures, taking notes, recording video and underwater sounds, trying to prove there's more to the dolphin than most people think.
We've been trying to break away from the idea of people considering dolphins to be humans in wetsuits.
Why?
For us to try to get inside their heads, to try to think like they do, is very presumptuous on our part. We can't do it.
A similar stranding in this same area last year. These dolphins given antibiotic to fight possible infections.
30 years ago, the success rate for this sort of thing was less than 10%. Now it's closer to 30%.
Tonight, a remaining 12 dolphins still refusing to return to their homes about 40 miles from the coast. It's unclear, even back in their natural habitat, would they survive? Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Miami.
That's nightly news for Monday. Tonight on Dateline NBC, more on the case of Elian Gonzalez. A special report from inside Cuba. That's Dateline at 9, 8 Central. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you back here tomorrow night.